the Porsche 911 is widely considered to be the best sports car money can buy. But behind this reputation lies an interesting story of how a brand took a flawed and unconventional design and turned it into an automotive icon. The first Porsche 911 was unveiled in 1963 at the Frankfurt International Motor Show. Initially, the car was named the Porsche 901. However, Peugeot owned the naming rights to all three-digit car names with a zero in between. The vehicle debuted with an air-cooled, rear-mounted flat-six engine, making 128 horsepower, a top speed of 210 km per hour, and a 0 to 100 time of around 9 seconds. The Porsche sported the classic 911 shape we recognize today, with the iconic rounded headlights, 2+2 seat configuration, and a sports coupe silhouette. Now, at the time, these performance numbers were very respectable and would put them in competition with other manufacturers such as Ferrari, BMW, Mercedes, and many more. However, unlike their competition, who preferred to have the engine in the front, with predictable handling and a front-biased weight distribution, Porsche decided to take the alternative route, which drew many critics, having the engine over the rear axles, resulting in a roughly 40-60 weight distribution, creating great traction out of a corner, but heavy tendency to oversteer, as well as a more raw steering feel. This gave the early Porsches a reputation as a very capable but demanding car, requiring immense driver skill to unlock its full potential. That reputation would be solidified in motorsport, where the Porsche performed exceptionally due to its many design choices. The air-cooled Porsche proved reliable over long distances, meaning the 911 had strong success in endurance racing, having overall wins in the Monte Carlo Rally and solid performances in both the 24 Hours of Daytona and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The Porsche also had a solid reputation in rally, as its exceptional traction excelled greatly in the snow, gravel, and tarmac. However, the Porsche's bread and butter was GT racing, consistently dominating the 2-liter segment, becoming the benchmark to follow. Now, while racing was important, it was crucial for the Porsche's success on track to translate to the road if they had any hope in becoming an established brand. Thankfully, Porsche's racing pedigree gave buyers confidence that the 911's unconventional layout was actually its greatest strength and not liability, showing how Porsche's refusal to abandon the 911's layout not only pushed them into motorsport success, but made them one of the best-selling sports cars in the world. So with this success, Porsche chose to evolve the 911 and create newer generations, solidifying its place as an automotive icon. In 1973, they came out with the G Series, which saw greater engine displacements as well as the first turbocharged 911. The naturally aspirated engine was increased to 3 liters and eventually 3.2 liters. However, it was the 930 Turbo that stole the show, boasting a 3-liter turbocharged engine, producing 260 horsepower. Now, it wasn't the power that made it legendary, but how it was delivered. The massive increase in power, combined with significant turbo lag, meant that the performance came at a sudden surge rather than a smooth build-up. And with all that performance sent to the rear wheels, it amplified the 911's rear engine bias even more, making the margin for error even slimmer, resulting in this particular model receiving the infamous Widowmaker nickname. Despite the larger engines and greater horsepower, the G-Series Porsches still dominated GT, endurance, and rally racing like its predecessor. Now, even after this success, there were still questions surrounding the Porsche 911. Many doubted whether the rear engine design was truly the best route to take. Critics also argued that if Porsche wanted to truly compete with the best, they should abandon the traditional route and instead focus more on displacement, comfort, and driver usability. And for a moment, Porsche experimented with these ideas, coming out with the Porsche 914 and 928. The 914 was introduced to be Porsche's entry-level, mid-engined, rear-wheel drive sports car, and the 928 was the comfortable, front-engined V8 replacement for the 911. Now, on paper, the 928 made sense. At the time, they wanted a comfortable, powerful GT car with appeal to upscale markets. This is because at that stage, the V12 and V8 front-engined Grand Tourers were very popular and in demand, most notably the Ferrari 400 and the Jaguar XJS. By all logic, it didn't make sense for Porsche 911 to survive, but thanks to strong customer demand and continuous innovation, Porsche doubled down on this winning recipe and continued to evolve the 911. From that point forward, Porsche followed a simple yet effective philosophy. Don't change the fundamentals of a 911, but perfect them. Every generation from then onward followed this strategy, keeping what made the 911 special while adding many improvements through engineering innovation. And the subsequent 964 generation proved this, being the first 911 with ABS, power steering, and all-wheel drive. Not to soften the car, but to make the rear engine dynamics more controllable, along with other great improvements such as coil spring suspension and wider tires. The ensuing model, the 993, boasted the first multi-link rear suspension in a 911, a major step in taming the snap oversteer present in earlier models, along with upgraded brakes and a wider stance. Then came the controversial 996 generation, being the first water-cooled 911. While Porsche purists initially complained, this change led to greater reliability and a greater potential for power. And this potential would be seen in the following 997 generation, which introduced the PDK transmission and direct fuel injection, heavily increasing the performance of the 911. The 991 generation sought a longer wheelbase and electric power steering, greatly improving the car's handling and overall traction, increasing stability and precision without abandoning the car's character. Which brings us to today. The 992 generation is a result of over 60 years of evolution, where even the base model Carrera has nearly 400 horsepower and a 0 to 100 of 4 seconds flat. If you step up to the Turbo S, you're looking at supercar performance with 700 horsepower and a 0 to 100 time of sub 2.4 seconds. If you're more of a purist and like driving on track, there are the GT3 and GT3 RS models with a naturally aspirated engine that screams to 9,000 RPM, an optional manual, and the capability to set lap records at your local track. And soon will be the arrival of the GT2 RS, aiming to break the Nürburgring record and further push what a 911 is capable of. However, in the end, it isn't the performance statistics or accolades that make the current day Porsche 911 the best sports car that money can buy, but instead, the way it drives. A result of how Porsche took the core 911 design that enthusiasts loved and refined it over time. When you purchase a Porsche 911, you're not just buying a car but a piece of automotive history, one shaped by decades of motorsport history and engineering innovation. And this is why, generation after generation, the Porsche 911 will remain the benchmark for the enthusiast sports car.